a playlist original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. It's a very special day because we're recording 2 episodes today.
The
We
boys
have
are
a lot.
busy.
The boys are busy. We have a lot on deck. It makes Mondays so much more fun and bearable, especially after a very long St. Patrick's Day weekend that a lot of us had.
You're on point with that one. It was a long weekend. My Saturday was spent doing nothing but recuperating after a long night Friday and a lot of drinking.
Yeah. And then you were like,
Yeah.
you went out. You were like, you went out again. I was like, yeah.
Yes, I can't believe it.
I went out Sunday. So I had a friend in town. I actually had 2 friends in town all weekend, but one of them on Sunday I haven't seen in like a bit. So I was like, all right, I'll go out on
Right.
Sunday. And I was only going to stay out until like, because he was like, oh, I only can stay for like an hour. And then that turned into like,
And that never
several-
happens. You're
never
right.
happened. Then all of a sudden I was like, I realized I hadn't eaten anything either. Rookie
Oh
mistake.
man.
Yeah, it was when I
So you
finally
had
got home.
You had a genuine bender this weekend then.
Yes, that's what they called it. And then my
Yeah.
my buddy Michael was like, how you feeling today? I was like, oh, I feel fine. He's like, I need to know like what genetic mutation you have to like not feel like shit the next morning.
And you seem fine now after 3 days. Like the only night I drank was Friday and I was paying for it Saturday, which granted doesn't happen often, but when I do get that way, I really suffer. It's just not that often. And I took Saturday completely off. I think I just watched some movies, so which was awesome. I was happy to do it.
That's how far it went. How far it went was my friend was like, hey, like she was like, I locked my I got in my car somehow, but I can't find my keys. So she was like parked in the bar,
Oh, great.
like behind the bar. And I was like, okay, like I'll like Uber to you and we'll figure it out. Except we hung out Friday and Saturday. So when I Ubered to where I thought she was parked, I was like, where are you? She was like, I'm behind like Tower 12, which is like the bar we go to. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, I totally Ubered to the place you were at on Friday. I'm like, I am not gonna be a good set of eyes to help you find your
Oh
keys.
God.
So she was gonna be like, you know what, fuck it, let's just have a good Sunday, whatever. I can't find my
Mhm.
keys. But then we go to our first stop, where we were meeting our buddy at, and one of the servers was like, hey, look what I found. Found her keys. They were sitting like by where the servers like type in all their orders. I guess because sometimes we hang out in the
Okay.
corner and like talk to a lot of the bartenders and servers because we know them all.
Right.
And I'm sure
Industry
that
folk.
if you knew Stevie, like to know her, so she would probably was like put her keys down and did something crazy, some kind of crazy antics, like with various people at the bar, and then just
Forgot
left.
all about the
And then,
keys. Yeah.
and then because she was like determined, she was like, yeah, like I know I didn't leave the car unlocked. I know I locked it. I was like, no, you definitely left it unlocked if you got in the car but did not have your keys. So it happens. It's St. Patrick's Day
Yeah.
weekend.
Exactly. A weekend to let loose and be irresponsible and all that jazz.
All that good stuff. So what did you? I didn't get to watch. I watched a few things on Netflix. I didn't really get to watch a ton of stuff. I didn't even go see Shazam, which we'll talk about on another
Right.
episode.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I felt so bad because I think I've seen almost every major release that's like on Thursday. Like, yeah, let's go see the new
On
movie.
the right. On
And,
the
and
release
I,
weekend.
and I just wasn't like. And I will walk this back right now. I said that it got like a lot of good early reactions, and that was true. But I kind of forget that when you go to press screenings, like the initial people that go, yeah, they work press, but they're also like fans of this stuff. So sometimes the initial response is like it can be a little different from like what comes later. Like I'm glad that like Scream 6 held up, but like most of the people at that press screening were also fans of the franchise.
Right.
So I forgot about that being an issue. And then like the more reviews that came out for Shazam, it was like, oh, it's getting worse, and now it's at like 52%. The audience score is
That's
88.
what's rocking right now. Wow.
Yeah, the audience score is 88%, but I feel
That's
like I
quite
didn't
the
miss.
divide. Holy smokes. I didn't hear great things either.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't miss out on much. And then I know we both last week were like, well, we're not gonna go see it Friday, St. Patrick's Day. Who's
Right.
gonna go see it on Friday? And then I didn't go the whole weekend with seeing it. I feel like I didn't miss out on much, but I do feel bad for everyone involved because it seems like they had a really good time making it. And
Well, that's good.
but we'll talk about it on the other episode. But I feel like that franchise or that character or whatever, that might
Not
be
looking
like
good in the future.
not good for looking good to be staying in the DCU. I'm sure James Gunn and Peter Safran are looking at those numbers like
Yeah, definitely. I honestly think that they have a hand to play in that. Like the marketing died off before release. They didn't seem like they did a lot of the promotion that they really could have, like leading up to the opening
Yeah.
weekend. And I feel like a lot of people, they didn't do a good job managing this this apathy that viewers felt towards these last couple DCU releases before, the
Right.
series is revamped. So I feel like if they had mitigated that a little bit differently, or like made some incentive for people to come see it, could have been seeing some different box office results. But I also just don't think they had a genuinely like good movie on their hands either.
I think it's that, and I think they kind of realize it. I also,
Yeah.
and I have to disagree with Deadline, because Deadline said that they feel like the marketing was there, but they mentioned how they had this like in-person trailer reveal at Comic-Con back in July, though. I
Right,
mean,
exactly. That just doesn't
yeah, so
matter
like,
anymore.
and I'm sorry, I mean, like, even you, when we had to do our box office predictions for it, even last week, you were like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was opening
I
this
literally
weekend."
had no idea. I thought this was gonna be like a May release. I didn't know it was so early in the year.
So the awareness for
My
it just
fault, but
wasn't there. Like, I mean, like,
no.
you're and like, it needed more than that, because you have a character that's not really fully well known by everyone. I mean, you got like a lot of goodwill out of the first one, because the first one actually has great reviews,
Right.
and I think it kind of played up the whole like kid friendly thing. You have like a little kid that becomes a superhero. Now that kid's a teenager, and that kind of loses its effect a little
Big
bit.
time.
Like, it's not as kid family friendly anymore. And then it got moved all over the place scheduling wise because of like COVID, and then they didn't want it to compete with Avatar, because it was supposed to come out the same weekend as Avatar: The Way of the Water at one point, and they were like, "All right, let's get it away from there," because they wanted to actually have some of the IMAX screens and stuff for it.
Right.
So they tried in that regard, but like I don't think they tried. There was no like marketing push for it. It was
No immediacy to come
like
see
I
this movie.
like I feel like they're putting all their muscle into the Flash. Is fair. I mean, from what
They
we're
better.
hearing, about it, like from people, like even Tom Cruise put his 2 cents in over the weekend.
I was about to say, who was it that said that it was actually really good? And I saw it today. Yeah.
Tom Cruise was like, let me check out the early screening
Yeah.
of the Flash. I was like, you got the Tom Cruise seal of approval. I guess that's cool too. I mean,
That will draw names alone. Like I'm admittedly more excited for it knowing that he, gave it his seal of approval. Like that's pretty
yeah,
sweet to see. That will be one of the DCU movies I would have just went to go see anyway, simply like just for the
yeah,
Batman's performance. But
yeah.
knowing Tom is a fan, I'm like, that definitely helps.
Yep. Yep. So,
Yeah.
well, at least we have that to look forward to. But I don't know, man. Like, we'll talk about it in the other one, but I think the big issue is with certain audience members now. It's like how I think making the Warner Brothers announcement, the DCU announcement about like what films were coming, what characters are going to make that transition, which characters might not. I think the announcement before
Definitely.
having this movie come out. I mean, I'm not going to put the Flash in here because I feel like that's an outlier, and it's kind of its own little big thing actually. But I feel like
Agreed.
it's going to affect Shazam. And I think down the road, I know we never mentioned this, but the Aquaman sequel, we had all those rumors about the poor test screenings and stuff. Like, I think when you make that announcement of like this may or may not be important moving forward, that's going to make people less inclined to want to go see it. Like,
As we're seeing now, I think that had a detrimental effect on the box office, and
but
I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I'm expecting a huge Aquaman 2 bomb in a few months' time.
yeah,
Just my
I know
dismal
we
predictions.
never talked about it on here, but I mean, like when we heard about the test screens, and not just like bad test screens, like test screens that people walked out of, that it was so bad. I mean, I'm sure.
Yikes!
I mean, they're probably like, "Yo, we need the Flash to make so much money to make up for these
Yeah,
potential disasters." Because it's not like Shazam. I don't think has a huge budget. I mean, it's pretty decent size, but like the first movie only had like $100 million
for sure.
budget, and actually, I heard that the first movie actually made like a $72 million profit at the end of the day, which is
Oh,
makes
okay.
sense why they want to greenlight a sequel. But I think it just kind of got muddied in all the whole like mess that the DCEU became, and then trying to create the
Kind,
DCU.
yeah.
I feel bad though, because like especially after what the director wrote about, hey, we can only stick around if you guys support it, if you guys support the movie, and $30.5 million opening is not good for a big budget
No,
comic book movie. And maybe we should feel guilty because we didn't go see it either. we didn't.
I don't. I don't think I was gonna go see it. I still haven't seen the first one, believe it or not. But I've heard good things. Like it is one I'll probably get around to seeing because I've
Yeah,
heard like just universally good things about it. But the second one just didn't interest me. And
yeah,
after watching, I think I watched Chris Stuckman's review, and that was the final nail in the coffin for me. There was
yeah.
nothing in there
And
that
now
I
there's
needed.
so
What was
many
it,
other
James?
things. that we rather watch that I think it's gonna get. I'm just gonna wait till I can watch it at home. At
Yeah,
this point,
my movie watching schedule is tight enough as it is. You got to be
I know.
special to get fit in there. You know what I mean?
I know there's like stuff that you want to see, and then there's stuff that I'm throwing at you, like, hey, like, can you watch this so we can talk
Stuff
about
for
it?
the podcast, stuff for my interest, stuff with my buddies. Like, it's hard to go like make the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because like a
And
lot
for
of people
something
are like,
middling,
yeah, when someone's like, you do press, like it must be cool to go see all this stuff, and I'm like, sometimes when you're like
sometimes,
told to do it, like you're like, you need to go see this for work. It's
right?
I mean, I like the opportunity to get to go see stuff early, but like once it's
No
not in
doubt.
your schedule anymore, once it's like, oh, now this is their schedule, and I need to
It
fit in
feels like
something.
work a little bit.
Yeah, I have to
Right.
fit in something that I necessarily wasn't going to see. It not complaining, but it's it's
Right.
makes wanting to watch the stuff that you want to watch even harder. It's like, oh, like I finally have the chance to do it, but now I don't feel like it. So it's
That's
like one of those
right.
things. Yeah.
Big time. So speaking of that though, what did you get to watch since we were last together?
So I hate doing this to you. I watched the movie that we're gonna cover under a deep dive
Oh,
this week.
fuck.
And I'm
Right.
gonna do
Okay.
this again when we record with Owen later, probably just to damn it, because I was like, I'm gonna remember to tell him, and I forgot.
It's no big deal. You got other
No,
things in, I'm sure.
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Dope.
And then I also I was like I went down like the rabbit hole again with like the true crime docuseries, but this time on Netflix. I watched
Okay.
one about the bling ring, which do you know much about that? It was a big LA story.
Doesn't ring any bells, no.
Like I think 2000, I want to say like not 2009 maybe. It's like around the time that like Paris Hilton and all them were like really huge, and The Hills was on, like Audrina Patridge and all those girls. So
Okay.
these like
2000s for sure.
yeah, these like high school kids, all kind of privileged, like not they were not poor. They're all living in like really decent places, like Calabasas in and around like LA area and all that.
Okay.
They admired some of these celebrities, and they admired them so much that they ended up like Googling when they would be out of town, and they started like burglarizing their homes. So like, and it wasn't hard for them to do it. Like Nick Prugo, who's one of the lead dudes that was a part of it, he actually, the first time they went to Paris Hilton's house, they just tried to open her sliding glass door,
first time.
and it was oh yeah, they went a lot. They let me pull it up. They actually stole a lot of money worth of merchandise that was worth a lot of money from different celebrities.
Okay.
But
And
they went there the
clearly
first
were
time.
caught, if we're talking about it.
Oh yeah, they eventually did get caught. But they were like, she would like, someone like her would like will leave their sliding glass door open, and then the next time they went to her house, they were like, oh,
Why?
it's locked. But they were like, oh, let's look under the mat, and under the mat was the key to her place. And
How
so
cliche can you get?
I know, and like, and the fact that, and they actually make this into a movie. Emma Watson's in it, played Hermione and like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
They made it like directed by Sofia Coppola. They made it into like a really,
What
it's
is
a
this
really good movie. It's called The Bling Ring. So like they were named.
Oh.
And this was like, that's what they actually,
Okay.
the media dubbed them, the Bling Ring, and it was, the movie itself is like based on a Vanity Fair article called "The Suspects Wore Louis Vuittons," and it was basically like how these like entitled like kind of rich kids, like they stole from Lindsay
Right.
Lohan, Rachel Bilson, Audrina Patridge, Orlando Bloom, and Miranda Kerr when he was married to her at the time. They actually were getting so brazen. They were actually stole like full on like artwork from Orlando Bloom's house, like stuff that you would notice. And then they actually stole his entire like Rolex collection from his place. And
Oh
honestly,
my God.
and they were saying like they interviewed Nick and Alexis Nyers, and they interviewed both of them because they have very different takes on who started all this stuff. Like Alexa was also, her family, her dad worked as a DP on Friends, so she kind of was already like industry kind of in it.
Right.
But they were also in the process of doing a reality show about her sister, and her mom when all this stuff was going on. So like she actually did the stuff at, I believe, Rachel Bilson's house. And while they're filming this reality show, the LAPD is like building this case against her and all these other people that were involved in it. And they actually like showed up while they were filming the reality show, and I was like dying because they were interviewing like the producers of the reality show. They were like, okay, like low key we felt so bad, but like we were like, this is good TV. we're not
totally.
we can't interrupt our subjects, like, no, let's let it happen. But it's like one of those things where it's like you hear that story and it sounds like a movie, it doesn't sound real, but they got away with this for like a really, really long time.
That sounds
insanely long time.
intriguing as hell.
Yeah, and they were like, and Paris Hilton didn't really notice stuff at first because they were like they would go on TMZ and be like, all right, did she report anything? And if there was nothing in the news, they realized that like, all right, we're getting away with it. And then they were talking
Right.
about how they would go through her purse. She had like all these purses in her closet. Also funny
No
story.
kidding.
Paris Hilton, she says, to take back the narrative, actually let the movie version film in her actual house where they actually where the real people actually burglarize her.
Oh, that's cool of her.
But yeah, they stole like millions of dollars worth of like accessories and money. They said that Paris Hilton would
Art
have like,
alone would have been crazy.
I know, they said that Paris Hilton had crumpled up like $100 bills and like various purses, almost like it was like change you would like throw away, like if you were like you or I, like we were like, oh, here's $5,
That is
except they're like,
insane.
but no, there was like hundreds and hundreds of dollars of it, and it's just a very unique, weird story. I recommend the movie too. The movie is pretty. It actually turns 10 this year, so maybe we'll
Okay.
discuss it
Yeah.
one day.
It's not a bad idea. I was literally about to ask when it came out, so
Yeah, it
that's
came out
pretty dope.
May 2013. So like, and it was a good two for Emma Watson. She did it right after she did Perks of Being a Wallflower. So it was like, all right, she's
Oh,
making
wow.
really fun, making
Nice.
fun, unique film choices in her post like Harry Potter career.
That's right.
And she totally owns the very like Valley Girl LA accent. She doesn't even sound like herself at all. She's
Oh,
completely
okay. Good for
completely
her.
good at it.
Accent work is super admirable because I can't do accents for the life of me. So I love when
I feel like
actors,
I think I can
convincingly
until I
pull them.
actually hear myself doing them.
So you do it, yeah.
And
It
then, like,
always sounds better in your head.
I know. I think I was trying to do Australia one time. My friend was like, "You sound British." I was like, "I whatever." You know what I'm trying to get at.
Ah,
And
it's
then I
very
watched
difficult to pull off.
another documentary called, I think it's called "The Most Hated Man on the Internet," and it's about this guy that ran this website called "Is Anyone Up?" and they were using it as uh, the website was known for like posting pictures of people like as revenge porn. Like they would just like take all these naked photos of like various different people and he would put them on this website, and he got away with it for
Damn.
a really long time, saying that he was protected by the same like laws that like protects like something like Facebook. Like he's allowed to like post this stuff. And initially it was people he knew, and then it turned into like just anyone that he could find, like and then like a lot of people were submitting pictures themselves, and then like the internet. What I pulled from that documentary, dude, is that the internet can be a very vile and nasty place. Like some of these people
Oh
that
my
were like
god, some of the
that were
worst.
some of these people that were commenting on these photos, that people that they didn't even know, like calling girls like whores, saying like some of them look like horse faces, like just really like demeaning shit. And it's
The
just like,
internet is a horrible place. So
yeah. And I'm thinking to myself while watching it, like some of these dudes, like I'm sure some of you guys have like sisters, and you wouldn't want like your sister or your mom
that's
or
right.
anyone to be on something like that. And like, I mean, this guy was like a total tool. I don't even know how he had friends because there were people hanging out with him and
Right?
that loved to be in his orbit. And I was like, I guess even like the most awful people still have people that want to hang out with him.
I guess
But it was
so.
a
That
pretty
is another
intriguing
crazy
watch.
interesting.
Yeah, and it's like basically about how one of the moms basically, when it happened to her daughter, like she made it like her mission to at least get the site taken down and like
Nice.
stuff like that. And he eventually, I guess, wrote a book that he sold on Amazon where he didn't apologize for anything that he did. And uh, he's kind of in hiding now. I don't know what he does now. They actually tried to, I guess, interview him for the documentary, and he agreed to do it, and then backed out at the last minute. So this is, I mean, of
Oh,
course, it's
damn.
weird that this is someone that like acts all brazen, like, oh, like whatever, and then they ask him to like
Is really
talk,
just a coward.
yeah, say your piece, and then he doesn't. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got, you don't
Damn.
be like me though. Do not get sucked into like the true crime docuseries stuff.
No, that stuff's awesome. That's super interesting. And you get some insight into some pretty crazy real life stories that you wouldn't otherwise, right? So those are some cool watches for sure. You said those were both on Netflix?
They're both on Netflix, yeah. Because
Nice.
I was actually gonna watch something else, and I was like, oh well, I'll watch this instead. And I was like, I only watch one, and then the first one ended. I
Right.
was like, all right, I'll pop this one on. But yeah, really interesting stuff though. If you ever want to check it out, what did
Well,
you
about
get
that.
into?
So it was literally today that I noticed my Netflix, it officially like signed me out from my parents' account saying I'm not at the primary
Oh, that you're
location
not
for
the
the
witch
account.
anymore.
I was
Oh
I was
no.
milking it for I don't know how long after the legislation changed, but now I gotta officially, if I want to get on Netflix again, I gotta make my own account, which I've never had. I've always been with my folks. So, shout
Oh
out to my parents for letting me piggyback on your Netflix account for as long as it's been around.
wow.
Now I gotta grow up. But
That's crazy because
I
I didn't think they were gonna like. I thought they talked back doing it, but I guess. And this is around the time they
I
did
thought they
say
were
that
too.
this is around the time that they did say it was going to be sometime like mid March. So
Yeah,
there you go.
it's here. It's upon us.
That sucks.
Wouldn't be surprised. I bet you if they have a really poor like second quarter of 2023, like
They'll look back
financially,
on it.
if they yeah, I could see it happening. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna call it and say it's gonna happen, but stranger
Yeah,
things have happened, that's for sure. I was able to get a sneak last pick or last watch on it yesterday on Saturday. I did a double feature. That's because I was recuperating all day and didn't I wanted to take the night off. So I watched John Wick in preparation for a later
nice.
episode. And after that ended, my roommate, who had never seen them, he watched number two with me today, just before we filmed today. He was quite impressed. He liked them.
Yeah,
But when he went to bed, because he was working in the morning, I was still not quite ready for bed. So
yeah.
I randomly threw on Scary Movie, like the first one, just
The
coming
first
off
one.
this Scream 6 high.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that movie's funny, man. Like in some certain ways, it's aged poorly, but in some ways, the humor still very much holds up. So it was like a hit or
yeah.
miss, but I was
There's some
literally
funny
cackling out
stuff in that
loud.
movie, dude. Like
Dude.
I watched. So I think I watched that movie. When's the last time I watched it? It was sometime last year because I hadn't watched it in
It
forever.
had been years for me.
And it holds. I mean, of course, like any comedy, there's some stuff that doesn't land, but like for the
Right,
most
of
part,
course.
it does. And I'm just glad that that movie introduced me to Anna Faris, who is hilarious and
Yep,
has continued to be hilarious. And like she
that's
steals the
right.
scenes in so many different movies. And then what I love too is that like I'm a big fan of Regina Hall, and Regina Hall is nothing like that in real life. And
No.
like and like
Okay.
and she like and like and I've seen her in other movies, like she's completely not like Brenda, but she can play the part so well. And like I mean, me and my friends have like on different occasions just like full on like quoted the entire like movie theater scene with like her and like how she's just like going off and just being loud, and like it's just that whole
My God.
so great. And like I
Yeah.
just love that everyone's just kind of in on the joke. Like Shannon Elizabeth is hilarious in it too. Like everyone has like really funny like moments. I'm also glad that it's not long. It's not a long movie. It doesn't
It's
overstay its
real
welcome.
tight. That's right.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I just remember Wes Craven, God rest his soul, but like that's when Scary Movie first happened.
Yes.
He was like kind of offended. Like
What
he
was he
because like
saying? Oh,
well,
no, no kidding.
he didn't like he thought they were making fun of it, but then like they had to explain to him that like no, like
Parody.
you made something good in Scream, and like it was good enough for them to kind of poke fun at it, and like you should be like kind of happy. And then eventually he kind of turned around
Yeah.
on it.
No publicity is bad publicity,
Yeah, so like
right?
it's good, and like honestly, dude, Scary Movie 2 holds up really well as well
Uh,
because like
Apparently,
I
so
used
does
to
the third one.
yeah, I used to think it wasn't as good for a long time because the first one is so good. And then I had a friend that was like, no, like rewatch Scary Movie 2 with a fresh set of eyes. And I was like, all right. And it's
Right.
really funny too. Like, I mean, again, Anna Faris, Regina Hall, hilarious in that movie too. It's poking fun at movies that like probably aren't as well known. Because Scary Movie is, of course, Scream and I Know You Did Last Summer were like the main ones they were like poking fun at.
Right.
And then Scary Movie 2 kind of goes back to like do stuff with like 80s, 70s horror that some people aren't gonna fully identify with. But
Right.
I think it's one that's grown with a lot of fans like the most since it came out. And like you mentioned the third one too.
Aged really well.
And the third one's kind of a hard one because that's when they got rid of the Wayans brothers after that. But I still think
Oh,
like
what?
after the
They're not-
second movie, but I think the third one
That's
does
disappointing.
I think the third one does a good job because you still have like the central players there. Like,
Right.
you still have, like I said, Anna Faris and Regina Hall are still there. And like
Isn't
it's
Charlie Sheen in the
yeah,
third or is he in the second
Charlie
too?
Sheen. Yeah,
Like
Charlie Sheen.
this.
Yeah. And they do
Those
a good
movies are
job of
whack.
they do a good job of making. I still love the scene in the third one where they're making fun of the ring, and then like Regina
Yeah.
Hall is like sitting in the sitting in the room, and the TV, of course, is starting leaking water, and she's just like, "Sydney, the TV's leaking," and then she makes another comment. She was like, "Oh, another white girl done fell down a well," like trying to make fun of how like the media kind of like only covers stuff like that. Like I don't know, like
Right.
if
There is
if
lots to love.
so much, and I'm glad that you rewatched the first one though, because the first one is I remember seeing that in theaters and just like
Oh,
laughing so hard
so
laughing so hard my
funny.
face
Oh my
hurt.
God.
Yeah.
At
No,
the
it was so good.
time, that movie would have been gut-wrenchingly funny. As a little small tidbit about Scary Movie 2, which I have no doubt you must know, the original title for Scream, which it mainly parodies, was called Scary Movie,
Scary
was the
movie.
original working title. Thought that was super clever how they because it just seems like such a title for a parody movie making
Yeah,
fun of horror movies. So the fact that they called it Scary Movie and it works as an homage to Scream is just like chef's kiss, brilliant.
that was a Weinstein change from Scary
No
Movie.
way. I you know what I say that's
And
that was a
I
good
don't know which one.
decision.
I don't know which one. I don't know if it's Harvey or his brother. His brother was more
Oh,
involved with
okay.
Dimension Films, but it was a title that when they changed it, I don't know if they were too happy with it, like Kevin Williamson and stuff. But it's definitely one that like
Okay.
I think they. I don't think they want to agree that the Weinsteins were right in this climate. But I think back then they were like, all right,
Right.
yeah, that was a good, solid name change.
I think
You know,
that, yeah. The thing is, though, with Scream, like that title still would have worked because they are also sort of parodying horror movies. So
yeah,
it would have worked. But I think Scream is just so iconic. It's
yeah.
just, I think it was a good call. And I
It's,
will no doubt get some late night watches of the next couple of sequels, I'm sure, over the next maybe month or so. Actually, once I decide to get Netflix back.
yeah.
Beyond those, other than Scary Movie, the first couple of John Wicks, I also got in another movie that I will save because we're going to be chatting about that soon. Maybe I'll save that one as a surprise for any listeners. But yesterday on Sunday, me and Cam got in Jordan Peele's Nope, which I
Oh,
got to say,
you finally saw it.
I
All
finally
right.
got around to watching Nope, and I overall liked it. Like it's not without its limitation or its issues, but I liked it significantly more than I would say. I don't even like Us. Like there's not a shred of anything I like in Us. So Nope was a welcome return to his Get Out form, in my
Okay.
opinion. And like I put it probably on par, maybe not quite as good as Get Out, but it was like in that like stratosphere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By
Performances
the
were
way,
great all around.
yeah,
What's
Kiki
that?
Palmer. I mean, I loved everyone in it, but Kiki Palmer. I mean,
I loved everyone. Yeah.
yeah, she's someone I've like watched a lot, and like to see her kind of like have grown as much as she has as an actress and like different projects and stuff. Like I thought she was so great in Nope, and I'm forgetting the guy's name, but the guy who played the Fry's Electronics. No, no, the dude
Oh,
that
the
worked at
electronics
Fry's.
side.
I
I'm
think
not
his
sure
first
what
name
his
is
name
Brandon
was.
something, but actually, I mean, I think that's one of his first movies, if not his first big thing, and I thought he was really
Oh,
good. He was really solid because he does remind me of people that I used to see that worked at Fry's Electronics.
oh
And
yeah.
I think he fucking nailed it.
Is that
And
a real place?
it's a real pay. It's here. I mean, I don't know if they're
Oh,
anywhere else. But
cool.
they actually the one that's was near me. They closed down like a year or two ago. It was like a Best Buy kind of place, but God,
Right.
I mean, God love it, but it was so disorganized. Like every
Oh
fries you
yeah.
go was like, I'm like, hey, I'm just looking for like yeah, like a Blu-ray player, and then they were like, oh yeah, just go down like this walkway, and like there's just it's full of other shit that aren't Blu-ray players. They're like, well, where is it?
Right.
Like it was like that kind of place. You have to like really be into wanting to like search at Fry's Electronics, and
Okay.
yeah, just
I
go to Best Buy. It's
assumed it was made for the movie, but that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah. What
Also,
were you gonna say
really
though? You were,
like really good looking. I mean, we were talking about the cinematography thing with the Oscars. Nope is a really good
dude,
looking movie too, and like I kind
it
of
was
someone
surprise. Like,
brought that to my attention. Like that should have been mentioned by us when we were talking about the cinematography. Like people that missed the mark on that didn't get nominated. And Nope is a really
that right?
good looking movie. It's really. I mean, he probably
Well,
could
it
have.
was shot,
Yeah,
yeah, shot
could
by a really
easily.
acclaimed cinematographer, Hoyt van Hoytema, who's worked with Nolan, I think, on many of his movies,
So
and
like
you can definitely tell.
it could have easily replaced any of the ones other than All Quiet on the Western Front. That could have
Yeah,
easily. They could
exactly.
have easily been there.
And I'm sure Empire of Light looked great too, but I hadn't seen it. But like, I think it was shot better looking than Tar, for instance. That comes to mind. Better
Yeah, yeah,
blew Elvis out of the water, in my opinion. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm just another. I can't get them all in there, but it was
Well,
shot great, acted great. Story for the most part was pretty good. Like I can't get around like I don't know, like it came out last summer. I'm sure there's many people that haven't seen it yet that might, but I won't get into details. But like the twist, I guess, if you will say, about like the nature of what's really going
what
on,
really
like
going on?
didn't sell me, but didn't like ruin the movie or anything for me. And there were a couple cool tense scenes. So
Yeah,
yeah, overall, like I enjoyed that one.
there's one in particular that really stuck with me.
Are you thinking of the
Uh,
one I'm thinking of
I think, I think, in case we didn't want to give it away.
with the
Um,
kids?
yeah, I think we're picking up what I'm putting down
Yeah,
there.
that scene
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah, I was like, Jesus. You know, it's funny because they announced that his next movie is coming out Christmas 2024. They announced
Nice,
that today,
nice
and you know,
segue.
but after because I want to because they haven't really given any other information other than that. But I do want to ask you, like, now that you've seen Get Out, Us, and Nope, are you still excited for like what he has to offer with like his potential next movie, like whatever? And it's a horror film. They did say that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Like, yeah, I am, and like Jordan Peele, just by nature of like how big a name he is in the industry, like he's going to be someone that even if I chose not to like watch any Jordan Peele films, I could never like cut myself off from him because like he's so beloved and his work is so high profile. So
Right.
but I will say that Nope has changed like my direction a little bit into like in terms of like excitement towards his next project. Whereas like after Us, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't get over it. But and so it kind of put me off Nope a little bit, knowing I would get around to see it. Like I was trying not to be like too biased. Yeah, no, I guess I will say that interested to see as it develops, but I got to give credit where it's due. Like I do really respect Jordan Peele. A big move that he made that I like really respect him for is when he passed up the opportunity to direct the Akira remake to focus on original content and do his own
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, that would have been such a great project for any director would have loved to get their hands on. The fact that he's like sticks to what he wants to do and make original horror, I'm like, I can't not like love that move from him. So, I got to
Yeah, no.
give credit where it's due. Like that is pretty awesome. So yeah, I will be definitely keeping my ear to the ground with the developments for his next movie. I'm interested to see who gets attached to it, what the story's going to be. But in typical Jordan Peele fashion, I'm not expecting they're going to be giving out too many details in
Yeah.
advance. Like his movies are pretty kept under
Because
wraps.
I remember with Nope, it was just the poster. I think that they released for a long time,
Yeah,
and it was just like
with the horse going in
the
the
horse
air
on the air, and I was like, "What is this?"
in the cloud. Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out
what's going on here?
what's going on here. I mean, makes me wonder why like most studios don't get behind their creatives to like market their movies in a similar fashion where they're not like
That is a great point.
when they're not revealing everything. I mean, I guess you can't sell every movie on like ambiguity and not like being kind of front with like what's going on, but like I feel like it mostly pays off for studios and filmmakers when they're like, "Hey, this is like a really unique idea. We don't want to give away too much until we absolutely have to. Like, let's make the marketing
Right.
mysterious." That intrigues people enough to want to go see it. It seems like just a really easy way to like make a good buck because someone's gonna be like, "Hey, I want to know what this is." Like, I'm curious enough
Certainly.
to go see it.
Intrigue sells. That's a
Yeah,
great point. I wonder why they don't give more faith to their filmmakers and let them control at least aspects of the marketing. Because a
right.
lot of films are marketed horribly.
And I feel like they kind of did that with Jordan Peele out the gate. I mean, they let him kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the marketing behind Get Out was more direct than like Us or Nope, but it's still. I think it showed that he was a emerging like unique voice in horror, and that's what they were kind of focusing on with how they were marketing how they marketed all his movies. Like, I agree with you. Like, when I saw Us, I liked it more in the moment in the theater, and then when I saw it again, having digested all of it, I didn't love it as
Right.
much as like I initially thought. I still think it was an interesting idea, and like I mean, I will give him credit for that for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
thought Lupita Nyong'o killed it. I thought she was really good in it. But it was the wrap up that kind of still bugged me. I didn't like the overall explanation, and then like, and that's a hard thing with a movie
Yeah.
like that. The movie like that, right? It's like, oh, like what is going to be like the reason this is happening? Please be
Well,
good. And then you're
exactly.
like,
My issue with us is that like if you start thinking critically about it, about what you're seeing and like the explanation for how this came to be, it just falls apart on
falls
itself. It's
apart.
really hard to
Yeah,
draw some sort of logical sense as to how we came from here to here. And that's what I don't
yeah.
like about it. There are things to like about it for sure.
But at least with Nope, I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I can. I mean, I didn't totally love the explanation, but I was like, oh, it's fine for what it is.
It passed.
Like,
And there's other
it was
things
enough.
in the movie to enjoy. One thing I before we move on from that I want to mention too is like gotta love like he clearly was inspired or shouted out Spielberg, especially like Close
Yeah,
Encounters. A lot
yeah.
of some nods to that in there. Score actually was I was surprised at
Score
how
was
much
really
the
good too.
score impacted me in a couple spots. Was really nice.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I mean, overall, I mean, I think most people would say, even though there was issues with Us, a lot of people would probably say that he's 3 for 3. Like he hasn't really had like a huge miss. Like
right,
even if we have for certain feelings about Us, I thought Nope was an improvement over that for
big
sure.
time, big time.
Um, what I've loved about each one though is that they're all different. They're all like
Yeah,
very
I
different
appreciate that
movies,
too.
and like all like, and I think after you see Get Out, I think everyone's expecting like all of his movies to have like all these like kind of themes running through them, and there are some things in like Us and Nope even that he kind
Yeah,
of touches on, but I'm glad it's not always the same thing. He could easily been a filmmaker that like is like, this is what I'm trying to say each time I put out a movie, and like he's done
very true. But he
and like and tackle different genres too. I mean, he's a really, I mean, different like subgenres within horror. Like I guess,
subgenres within horror. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Good point.
So yeah, I mean, I give him a lot of credit for that. I mean, there aren't a lot of people doing that right now, and
No, there's
it's cool.
not. And
And it's
he's
cool
like
that
the
Universal
voice of all
Pictures,
that
yeah,
stuff.
it's cool that Universal Pictures fully backs him. Like, I mean, his next movie is going to be with them too, so they have a good working relationship with him, and
Yeah,
hopefully that
I wouldn't
continues.
want to give that. His movies are, for what I understand, like pretty lucrative too. Like they
Yeah, they
bring a
make
lot into
money.
the box office. They
Yeah,
make, yeah, they're not overly expensive. I don't know what the budget was for Note, but I know Get Out and Us were pretty modest.
very modest. Yeah, I think
So
Nope was bigger
yeah,
than his other ones because they're just there's more effects and like all that stuff
probably
too. Mm.
big time.
But yeah, I think you know what, when it came out over the summer though, I think some people were divisive on it a little bit because it's
Yeah,
that
I
whole
remember
like
hearing that.
it's that whole like, well, what did you expect? The what I assumed it was aliens, so I was like, I'm just gonna go with
It's
that
marketed
initial
that
thought.
way.
It's marketed
Right.
that way, and then but I was cool with like all right, not exactly what I thought, but that's along the
Right.
same line. I think with any filmmaker like him, that there's so much hype behind what he does, like people are bound to be like either very impressed or kind of disappointed. As it's just the nature of like who he's become as a filmmaker. When you
That's
come
right.
out, when you Get Out first, man, that's kind of hard to. It's a hard, tough
That is
one. It's a tough one
yeah,
to top.
high bar to set right off the
And,
gate.
yeah, this is anyone that is a filmmaker like this. I mean, we talked about it with like Damien Chazelle. Like when you like pop out with Whiplash, and like, all right, man, and you follow that up with like La La Land, we're like,
La La
okay.
Land. Oh my
And then
goodness.
even First Man, I'm like, all right, dude, you're 3 for 3. Come on. And I know
Big
Babylon
time.
wasn't everyone's taste, but like, I mean, that has to be hard when like you have like that one good one first, and everyone's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do next? I wonder if there's pressure or if like they even think
I
about
was
it.
about
Like,
to say I totally imagine pressure it plays a part, but again, I'm sure this is what those people love to do. So
yeah,
maybe not so much. I'd be interested to get inside their head for a little bit and
but
see. But I can imagine, like, say, like, actually, good comparison between Damien Chazelle and Jordan Peele after having putting out a couple like really successful movies and then having one that like releasing one to kind of a middling response and even like
yeah,
criticism from some people. Like I
yeah,
wonder, like, if you read that stuff, that's got to get to you. If you
a little
even
bit.
do, like, I'm sure some people are really disciplined and stay away from that, but it can't be
Well,
easy.
I think someone like another good example. I think M Night Shyamalan eventually stayed away from
Oh
what certain people were saying about
yeah,
some of his movies, especially like post The Village.
you'd have to. Right.
He's another example out of the gate. Big movie with The Sixth Sense, and then follows it up with Unbreakable, and that's good. And then Signs is good, and then The Village is where things start to go like awry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on the train. I like The Village, but I get that that's definitely his turning point. But I also didn't see it at release, so I can imagine that twist being very divisive at the time. But I think
Oh,
I kind of
I
had
was
a
I
sense
was
of what it
I was
was before I saw it.
mad. I was
You were
mad.
mad.
I was mad. I was like,
See,
this.
I can understand why. I had the benefit of kind of knowing a little bit about where the movie went before I saw it, and I've seen it many times since, and it always holds up for me. But
Yeah,
different
another good example
perspectives.
of like at least he tries, new things.
Yeah, any original
Even if
horror.
they
Yeah,
even if they don't always work, he still tries. He
at
still
least
tries.
he's trying. That's right.
Well, I'm glad you finally got to
Yeah,
watch it. I actually got Shyamalan vibes from Nope. Like it seems like very like something that M Night Shyamalan could make.
that's totally, honestly,
Yeah,
yeah. Imagine what he would have done with that script. I bet you if they had to both put something out, it would have been very different, but
right. Yeah,
like definitely, would have drawn off each other in the same breath. But
yeah,
that's a great point. No, I didn't think about that until you said it, but like totally Shyamalan vibes.
yeah, definitely. So,
I'm
I
finally
want to
getting around to seeing it.
mention this. I haven't watched it yet. I know people have asked me like, what do I still watching Wolfpack because people have messaged me on G Reels and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I am still watching Wolfpack. I haven't watched the finale yet, but I heard that our girl Sarah Michelle Gellar gets to throw down. So that's what people have been waiting for.
Okay.
And
Big time.
no word on season 2 yet. But as an executive producer, she said that the numbers are good from for Paramount Plus. So they're just kind of waiting to see like get official word. So hopefully we get a season 2. I think people who have been watching it noticed that it was a bit of a grower, kind of like a slow burn. Then it started to pay off in like its last few episodes. So I will be watching that finale later, and I will report back on
Okay, sweet.
how much ass she actually kicked.
Kicks.
In
No doubt tons.
you know,
She is a professional ass kicker.
you gotta let Buffy kick ass, man. You cast
Big
Buffy the
time.
Vampire Slayer, you gotta let her do it. You can't just like talk, let her fight,
No.
shoot some guns. Yeah,
I appreciate a slow burn though. Like I don't want all action all the time. So I mean that seems like something that might be up my alley one day.
I think some of us, well, not. I think a lot of people are just very impatient viewers, though. So they need like an
Yeah,
immediate like payoff.
especially In the age of social media and smartphones, I think we're seeing more and more
Yeah,
and more of that. People need constant stimulation, and
yeah.
it honestly it drives me insane.
Well, it's funny though because Owen is like this, where it's like he's like, okay, I can appreciate a slow burn, but he's like, I hate when someone says like, oh, you gotta watch like the first 3 or 4 episodes before like it gets going, and like that's a lot of TV time before like something gets going. Like I shouldn't have to like watch 4 episodes like for it to get good, or like even with a movie, like oh, like the first like 45 minutes are rough, but like once you get past that, it's pretty good. And like
And
that's
it's
all I
all
go.
set up. It all plays
Yeah,
in later, right? Like, that's why movie or TV shows are an investment, right? Because you are
yeah,
investing in these characters and you are sticking with them in the moments when stuff's not happening, getting to
yeah.
know them and developing with them. And that's, I think, adds to the experience.
I agree. I agree. All right, so what news can we throw at each other? It's funny that there's so much news that we're actually splitting some of these items between this episode and the one we're recording after this, because I was like, I can't,
That's
we can't,
right.
we can't cram them all
I'm not
into
going to
that
fit it
one.
all in. No.
So we actually are splitting some of these up. Sometimes I do wish to that like we come off a week or weekend where there's like not a lot, so we can like maybe try to do something else, and then
Well, we
sometimes it's
always can.
oh, we always do. I mean, we always figure it out. But then, like,
Yeah.
there's like no news, and then all of a sudden, like the day or two before we record, it's like Hollywood's just
It's a
like,
big drop.
yeah, just like dropping bombs.
Exactly. It's the nature of that industry. It's always given us something to talk about. But yeah, no, is there anything top of mind that you wanted to get out there?
Let's see, what can I? You know what? I'll do this one first, just because I have the quote up from Ben Affleck. He,
Mm,
well, honestly, he did a kind of like a there was like a piece done on him for the Hollywood Reporter. It was actually like a really good piece of you. I read all of it. Him starting up a company with Matt Damon, his best friend and like colleague throughout the years. Like they want to start making
right.
certain types of projects for that company and like kind of get behind like
It's about
creators
time they
more,
started doing that.
which is kind of cool because they kind of had that a little bit with like Project Greenlight back in the day, but now they want to be able to like control the budgets and all this stuff for like the films that they're putting together. And Ben Affleck also talks about how like he saw when he did The Way Back, which was like the basketball movie where he's an alcoholic, that came out right
Yep.
as everything shut down. So he saw, yeah, the movie didn't do well in theaters because like theaters were basically closing, but he watched that movie
Right.
perform very well streaming, and he was like, I can't like I need to like be aware that this is part of the future. It's not going to be like the future for all of entertainment, but when it comes to like these
Right.
like mid tier kind of like budgeted movies, they're gonna
Right.
people. And then like, I guess he learned that with like the Last Duel that he did with Damon as well with Ridley Scott. He's like something like that might perform better at home rather than trying to shoot your shot like theatrically. And I actually agree
Right.
with his
I love
mindset.
The Last Duel.
Yeah, I agree with his mindset a lot because I don't think it's like a black or white thing. I think that certain movies are going to thrive in movie theaters, as we've seen
Yep.
actually this whole month. We've actually seen like movies that have had like franchise record opening weekends, and then there's other stuff that
Right.
does play better at home. Like it's just gonna. I think like people are picking and choosing what they are willing to spend money on at the movie theaters more so, and it
Right.
takes and he was just talking about like that's what he's looking into with his company with like Matt Damon. And of course he was asked because he was like, okay, like he mentioned like how like he mentioned his experience doing Justice League and how that wasn't great, especially after Zack Snyder had to leave and then Joss Whedon came in and I guess was a total tyrant.
Right.
He said it was, and then he also mentioned that like for the 5 minutes that he's in the new Flash movie, I guess he said that was the best take he's had on playing Batman. Like he's like he finally understood what that character was a bit.
Okay.
And then they kind of shifted to asking him about like, well, we know that you basically you took a meeting with James Gunn. Like, even if you're not in the DCU as Batman, would you be interested in directing for the DCU? Because that was one of the stories that kind of there was a rumor that like, hey, you might not be involved as Batman, but they might want to work with you as a director. And here's what he had to
Right.
say. And some people were kind of taking it as shade, but I don't really think it is. And I want to see if you think
I
it's
didn't get that vibe yeah, so I had read the quote. It had been days
okay.
now. Days past, and I don't remember exactly, but I want to hear it again because I didn't get that vibe that it was shade, but maybe I will this
I didn't
time.
get the vibe either. So it says during an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, Affleck got candid about directing a DC Studios project by saying, I would not direct something for the James Gunn DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. And I think what he's trying to say, and this, me just speculating, there's a lot of like plans to, okay, again, make that a more cohesive, connected universe. And I think he wants to be able to direct a project that isn't bogged down and tied down to like, oh, it has to set up something else.
And it has to
And
incorporate all these other different characters and all this sort
right.
of stuff. I bet you're onto something with that.
So that's what I got from it. I didn't get any shade from it. I just think he knows what kind of movies that he wants to direct. And for what a lot of people could say about Ben Affleck, I know people go back and forth about him as an actor. Like it depends on, the year.
Right.
But what everyone can really agree on is that he's been a really good filmmaker. I mean, like,
really solid director.
Gone Baby Gone, The Town, Argo. Like, I mean, Town is like one of my favorite movies, and
one of the better heist movies of this century.
I think he's a proven filmmaker, and I think and I've heard actually over the weekend, that movie Air played by Southwest. It was like their closing movie, and the early reviews from that so far are pretty good as well. And he directed that too. So I trust his eye as a filmmaker, and I trust what he wants to do as a filmmaker. So I can respect him being like, hey, like no shade to what they're doing at DC, but that's not the way I want to do things. And that's the impression I got.
Can't blame him for not wanting to. Absolutely not part of that quote. That makes me like,
I know. Okay,
I think maybe people were dwelling on that part.
I was like, how can I
really say no?
Yeah, I don't know how I can say like,
right.
Do I want to direct?
So I would put it as like respectful but firm. Be how I would sum up his quote there.
And that's fine. And like, what's interesting though is that I put a poll up on G-Reels about if they were bummed that he would be directing a DC project, and a lot of people said they weren't bummed. And I don't know if that was like shade against him or if that was like, no, I just think I'd rather he do something else.
Exactly. That's what my thinking was. It's a shame though, because like, and I would never say turn back the clock and let's see what he would have done with Matt Reeves, the Batman. But because I love how Matt Reeves did it, the movie's perfect.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome to have seen him do like a solo Batman project, like prior to this universe. You know what I mean? Like back when he was originally slated to do one. I think it would have been I would have loved to see his approach on the character that he was playing at the time. Would have been really cool.
Yeah, but I mean that always still strikes me.
I guess we'll never know.
The movie that never was, and that kind of always kind of gets me. I'm like, I wonder what he would have done with it, because like he like is a good filmmaker, and like but it makes me wonder like would been the movie that we got, like was he going to go for a more like realistic like film noir kind of approach, or was he going to keep it like Zack Snyder kind of like where it's a little bit more fantastical, the Batman and Man of Steel and all that stuff in the Snyderverse? And I'm not talking shit to anyone listening. I do like some of it. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Zack Snyder's Justice League, even though it was very, very long. I still was I'm still happy that he got to like release the cut that he really wanted everyone to see.
That is incredible that he got to do that.
Yeah, it makes me wonder kind of what movie he would have made. And like I said, I can respect him, assuming too, though, but I really do think that was the reason that he kind of was like, there's too much like connective tissue going on here. And like, I think the people that direct the Marvel movie, I mean, even Jon Favreau, when he was doing Iron Man 2, even though he has remained in the MCU as like an actor and all that stuff, and I'm sure he has love for it, but he said the frustrating thing about Iron Man 2 is that that's when you could tell that like we have to include all this stuff in this movie to set up the Avengers. And that's when he realized that like it was more than like what he could do as a director. It was like, this is no longer my thing anymore. This is like the studio thing.
Studio
and now,
project.
Right. Yeah. And that has to be frustrating, especially if you didn't know exactly how things were gonna go down. And if you have someone like Ben Affleck who kind of can, I mean, even though he was in a shitty part of the DCU where things were like all kind of messed up, I'm sure you can kind of see like, hey, like it's hard to have like a real creative like output when like there's so many cooks in the kitchen. Even if a couple of those,
I love that expression.
Even if a couple of those cooks are like pretty good. I mean, even if it's James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it seems like they have big plans on what they want to do, and a lot of people are trusting that. But like, when you're the one that's diving in there head first as a director, and like you're the face of that now. So if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, everyone's looking at you and be like, "Why did that work?" And like only some of us can like understand stuff like, oh, studio interference, and like there's so many people like getting involved. Like a lot of casual moviegoers don't know that. They're just like, oh, you
I have no idea. That's right. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so that's where I think that
Yeah.
kind of that lies. So don't jump on
All
Ben Affleck
I'm
too
not.
much, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not surprised to hear him say it, and B, I don't blame him for saying it, and I don't think that he was like, disrespectful in his approach. He's just firm and was leaving it in a way where he doesn't want to be approached again. It sounds like, okay, no, respect. I want you guys to do well, but this, I won't have any involvement, and like, all the power to him. I can't wait to see
Yeah,
what he does next after
yeah.
Air, which comes out. What is that? Is that a summer
April, I
release
think
or
it's,
spring, or is that out soon?
I think the big deal about it coming out in April because everyone's like, it looks like it could be positioned as like an Oscar movie, and then sometimes we release movies too early in the year. Sometimes the Academy like forgets about them. They are very, I mean, something like Everything Everywhere All at Once is a good example of them not forgetting something that came out early.
Yeah,
Um,
came out this
a,
month last year. That's right.
another throwback one that did that was Crash. Crash came out really early the year that winning Best Picture.
Oh,
So it can happen where like
Ooh,
they don't forget, but sometimes it's that sweet spot of like November, no, yeah, October, November, December, or like and then like a limited release in January sometimes where that's when they remember like the stuff for
right.
Oscars and everything. But I mean,
Mhm.
I wonder if they're like after some of these good reviews that are coming out, they're probably like we have to like think about the campaign they're gonna have like later. They want to
Right.
like if they want to like do it for that, we'll see.
Unfortunately, they have a lot of competition. It's going to look like this year, which would be a great segue into something later that we were going to chat about. But for that, there's some other news I think we want to get to just while we got it. And that is the casting of a certain filmmaker's next movie. A little certain somebody, little known filmmaker by the name of Paul Thomas Anderson, maybe better known as PTA, who
PTA.
has a wicked looking cast assembled for his next movie. And I feel like my brain is melting for a second. I can't even remember what it's called or does it even have a name yet.
I don't think let me I'll pull it up for you. You
Okay.
can drop some of
Maybe
that
I'm not going
cast.
crazy.
Let me see
Yeah,
if it
certainly. So recently, anybody that may have seen this has known Leonardo DiCaprio has been eyed for Thomas Anderson's next movie. Joining him is Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker himself, which that is just a friggin' duo made in heaven, a match made in heaven. That one, I don't know how
yeah.
we'd never seen that before, but God, those two, I can't not wait to see how they swing off each other.
Yeah.
Joining them is Regina Hall, who we were just talking about in Scary Movie. That's a great role for her, like you mentioned.
Really great.
I've not been as familiar with her like more recent work. What is she coming? Is she coming off of anything big
So
last couple of years?
she was in it got
Been
good
in some
reviews.
comedies.
Yeah, it got good reviews. It was on Peacock. I think it was called like Honk for Jesus, Save Your Souls about these two like one's a preacher and like heard it was good. I didn't watch it. I heard that she was solid in it. Actually, I haven't
Okay.
seen her in a lot of stuff. Man, I got to pull her up too cuz like she know that she is they're doing a sequel to Girls Trip, so I know that she's involved in that because she was in the
Okay.
first
Yeah.
one, and that made some
Right.
money. They're finally going to be doing that, and then she actually got. Let me see if I can pull up the movie because I know she got some buzz. Let's see where it is. Oh, this movie called Master, but a lot of people didn't see it, but she got really good as for it. It was a Prime Video release, came out in 2022. Uh, and
Enough.
other
That's the name of another Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
than the Master, yeah.
That's
And
fine.
other than
Yeah.
that, she was on The Best Man, the final chapters. She was in two movies, The Best Man and The Best Man Holiday, that were like pretty decent box office when they came out back in the day. And Malcolm D. Lee, who did those two movies, wanted to wrap up these character stories in like a limited series, so he did that on Peacock, and she was also involved in that.
Okay.
She's bounced around between movies and TV a lot, uh,
Okay.
and she's worked consistently. This is a big deal for
Huge,
her. I'm not saying
huge
it's a big
casting
deal
for
for
her.
everyone involved, but like I think that like
Yes.
could
Her in
potentially
particular.
put her in a really good conversation as far as like potentially if the role's good enough, like should be one to
Yeah.
watch. I
I
think.
mean, she's one of the first four casts. I can only imagine she's gonna have play quite the role in the movie, which awesome for her. And joining them, I remember like when this came out, Viggo Mortensen also joined that cast very recently, and it was just before he got cast in Paul Thomas Anderson's movie that he dropped out of David Cronenberg's new movie, his long-term collaborator with David Cronenberg. So I saw that he was attached to that, then dropped out, and I was like bummed about that. And then Paul Thomas Anderson must have picked him up. I wonder if
Yeah,
I don't know if that's related at all, but part of me wonders.
yeah. I mean, I would want to work with PTA. He's already. Yeah, I was just like. No
Done
hard
many
feel.
movies
Like, that's
with him.
Cronenberg.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I already like worked with you a few times, man. Like, let me dip my feet in some other direct
I'd like to
filmmaking
see him
waters.
in both. In a perfect world, he'd be able to swing both, but clearly not. But I'm all on board with him joining Paul Thomas Anderson's movie. And he is I mean, not so fresh off now, but it was in 2021 that he did Licorice Pizza, right?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, which oh my god, I don't know about you. Did you get a chance to see
Yeah,
Licorice
I
Pizza?
love that. Yeah, I love that movie. It's
I
really good.
One of my favorite theater experiences I ever had watching a movie. I was completely tuned into that. I like forgot where I was. Like I was just
Oh,
glued to
that's
that
when you know
screen
you gotta
watching the
go,
movie. It
man.
was exactly. I can't wait to see it again. I haven't seen it since theaters, but he's one of my favorite filmmakers, and I'd say arguably, like objectively, one of the best working, and one of the will be one of the best ever. So any one of his new movies is a hot topic. So yeah, that is shaping out to be quite the cast. So
Yeah, it is. I
excited
was
to
trying
see
to
who
see if
else
I can
joins
find
them.
anything else. So I guess Rachel Taylor is another person that is attached to this as well. And the story I
Okay.
have pulled up says, with names that are already include Leonardo DiCaprio, Joaquin Phoenix, and Regina Hall, the cast continues to expand as production on the project is set to begin this year for a possible theatrical release in 2024. There are currently no plot details regarding the upcoming movie, but rumors have pointed towards the direction of the story dealing with Leonardo DiCaprio training a young girl in martial arts. I hope that I don't know. Other rumors suggest
Okay.
other rumors suggest that the film could adapt a period of GOP history. Perhaps the two plot lines are related in a completely unexpected way. And then they mentioned the last movie he did was Licorice Pizza. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing about someone like him when they announce like a project, even if you don't know anything about it. You just get a
Right.
name. You just say like, this next movie involves these people. There's no plot yet. You don't know anything about it, but that gets people excited for like what's coming next. A lot of filmmakers
Absolutely.
can't do that. They cannot just like
No.
name drop like that, and he's one of them. I mean, I think when Licorice Pizza came out, I forgot who ran the story, but someone ran a story that like he since he doesn't make stuff like all the time, like his movies become
Hmm.
kind of like must sees for people like for like his hardcore fans and like people that really like love his stuff. And
That's
he's probably
right.
one of the few directors that probably is like that. I mean, you're lucky to kind of be that person where it's like I can go like a few years without making something, and then they're all about what you're going to do.
That's
And
right.
like, but like this, I mean, like he's had good casts in the past. I just think like hearing like all those names together was pretty exciting to, and like like Leonardo DiCaprio can be really picky about what he does movie
Yeah,
wise.
exactly.
So like it has to be a good one.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
And he
he hasn't
he just
he hasn't steered he hasn't steered us wrong yet.
that no, exactly. And he has such a great resume with working with directors. Like this again, him working with PTA is just
Yeah,
another duo that like we were it was just destined to happen. And I'm so happy that they're working together because they are like just some of the best at doing what they do. And I mean, Leo is as good a leading man as they come. Paul is
yep.
as good a director as they come. He's got no doubt will be a fantastic supporting cast behind him. Like it's just everything is shaping up so nicely for that. I cannot friggin' wait for it.
You know what used to be like low key embarrassing? Like I don't know if I should admit this. I get whatever. It's funny. So
You have to now.
I used to get him confused because the names are similar. The guy who
With
directed
West?
Resident, guy who directed Resident
Oh,
Evil
oh,
is Paul W. S. Anderson,
S.
and
Anderson.
I
Yes,
remember being like, that guy
that's
also directed
fair.
Resident Evil, and then my friends were like, "What? No!" Like, oh wait, I was like, so he like gives us all this like prestige stuff, and then gives us Resident Evil. And my friend was like, "That's not the same dude," and I was like, "Oh," and then like, of
No.
course, when you pull up Paul W S Anderson, you realize that he made like Mortal Kombat and like
Dude,
a
he
bunch
did
of
Alien
Resident
versus
Evil.
Predator, which I
Yeah.
hate to death.
Oh,
Like
he
he
did
is
Event
like,
Horizon, and that's cool.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
Event Horizon.
That's a there you go. Like I honestly like, and I have a soft spot for his. You do both AVPs. I know he did the first one. I got
I
a
think he
soft
did the
spot for him. I
first one.
like the first four Resident Evil movies. Like I don't not like Paul W S Anderson as a filmmaker. I know that he's not like considered a good filmmaker by like traditional standards, but like
Yeah,
his movies are like definitely like cult classics.
that's
Event
true. I
Horizon
mean,
would be his standout. That movie's like awesome.
it was just so funny that I was like, oh, man, like I really thought he was
No,
like the guy
100%.
directed Resident. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, do
Their
not.
names are like eerily similar.
Resident, do
I
not
thought you were gonna
tell
say
me that.
Wes Anderson, but
No. Like,
completely forgot about.
I had buddies that were like, do not sully the game by saying he directed Resident Evil.
That's fair.
I used to be so confused. I
Yeah,
couldn't admit it
because
to people too. I was like, are they the same person? Or oh, no.
how recently are we talking?
Not too recently, but like recently
Yeah,
enough for I mean not too
I wouldn't
recently,
hold it against you.
but like I was like, what? Like no. My friends were like, no, stupid. Not
Er,
Resident.
earnest mistake.
Yeah, can't help it. I had to tell that one though, because
No.
like my one buddy that was like, if you would have saw the look he gave me, like, what? You should know this.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
And by the way,
Absolutely.
I actually liked the first few Resident Evils as well. They're
Oh
actually
yeah, I think they're
entertaining. Yeah,
solid.
yeah,
They're entertaining as hell.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, I haven't
I
been
enjoyed
through
them.
that series in a long time, but I keep telling myself I'm gonna like set some time aside to because I have like actually a little Jackson trivia or history rather. Well, I still remember like the first few movies I got when I started like collecting DVDs. I was in like grade 10 or 11, and I had a
Yeah,
couple like just left over around the house before I was actually like a collector. But I was at like Walmart with my mom in a little small town. I was up there for a baseball game in high school. And I think just while we were over there, we went and grabbed some groceries on the ride home, and I just like was starting to, get into movies. I'd always liked movies, but I Walmart has a great entertainment section. I went and scooped up a 3-pack of the Lord of the Rings on DVD and a 4-pack of the Resident Evil series because in my mind I was like, this is 7 movies for like the price of 2, so I wanted to build as much as I
yeah,
could off the gate. So those were two of the first ever like movie packs I ever got, and
yeah.
I've watched all those 4 way back in the day. It's been a long time, but like you said, they're entertaining and they're solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we've talked about video game adaptations a lot on here, and
Right,
what I learned from people that play the game, I guess the movies change a lot from the games, and so I can understand like if you're a big gamer, why the movie stuff didn't work for everyone. I thought the first
right,
movie, especially the first one, worked. I thought it was fun, and I had a good time with it.
right.
I mean, they went on a little too long eventually, but like they were. Sometimes I like having no
Yeah,
skin in the game when it comes to like stuff that's adapted from something else. Like, never played the video game, so
exactly.
I have no dog in that
Same
fight.
boat.
So like it's
Right. I'm not going to be disappointed by the adaptation because I've never played the game. So like, just getting this cool zombie
yeah.
movie that's like mid tier but like entertaining,
That's how
like
I felt when
whatever.
I saw Uncharted. When everyone was like, "Oh, they made like why they make like Tom
Oh
Holland's too
yeah,
young. Tom Holland's too young to play him." I was like, "Well, I've never played the game, and this was entertaining, so whatever."
yeah. There
I
you
mean,
go. Fair enough.
I mean, I guess I'll let you guys be mad, but I
Yeah,
enjoyed.
exactly.
And you know what? And I
Yeah.
got to interview Tom Holland for that movie, so that was a really fun.
Fuck.
Okay,
Did
yeah, I will.
just
I'll
gonna
direct
drop
you.
that casually?
I know, like,
Like that is so sick. What the hell? That's
uh,
awesome,
yeah, I am Mark Wahlberg. I will direct you to it on G Reels because I have it on. It's like it was last year the movie came out.
dude. Like
Uh,
I'm so impressed
I
with these people that you've met. Like that, those are definitely the highest caliber people I've heard you mention in the interviews.
Yeah, those are,
Shit.
I mean, that was I remember the day before I got sometimes when you do these things, they send you stuff last minute. Like you won't even know like what time you're gonna get until like they'll email you like the day before, like, oh, like be ready at like this time, right? So it was a Sunday when I got the email at 9 o'clock at night. We were out watching we were out watching a football game, I think, and I was out much later than I probably should have been. And then I get the email
Mm.
saying like, "Oh, you have to interview Tom Holland at like 7:30 in the morning." And I was like, and
Oh my god.
I was pretty blasted that Sunday. So I was like, all right, I gotta figure this out and not be
Rein it
hungover
in.
tomorrow. Rein it in. But it was cool because he actually complimented me on the posters I have up on my wall. Like I was like trying to start the interview and like I'm not gonna do his accent, but I'll let you listen to it when you.
I
Yeah, it was fun.
I gotta see that. That is
Really
super cool.
fun experience. And yeah, I did kind of casually just be like, oh, I talk to Tom Holland. It doesn't feel real when you're doing it, man. It's like so bizarre.
I can't imagine it does, but that is gotta be like some highlight stuff, dude. That is super cool. I would
Yeah,
like probably just melt on the spot if I saw somebody like of his like like caliber
yeah.
in status in Hollywood. I'd be like, oh, I forget how to speak English right now. So
Yeah,
like that is super cool.
just fate.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking to Spider Man, man. Like what?
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, we are. I mean, I wish we could tell you more about the PTA movie, but that's all you need to know that he's coming out with something, and the cast is stacked. And
exactly.
once we hear more, we will report back.
Exactly. We will stay tuned for developments on that.
And then I guess it's a good segue too, because a lot of people, I guess, if you're especially if you're women and you like romantic comedies, some people are always looking forward to Nancy Meyers' latest projects. She
Right?
hasn't made a movie since 2015, The Intern with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro. I mentioned this like a week or two ago because I was still pissed that Netflix won't do season 3 of Mindhunter because they said
Ugh,
it's too expensive.
don't
And
remind
then
me.
after that news came out, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do this like $130 million rom com that Nancy Meyers is doing," and I saw the cast. The cast is Scarlett Johansson, Penelope Cruz, Michael Fassbender, and Owen Wilson were all attached to this movie. I was like, okay, I get it. She always has high profile
It,
people in the movies, right? But
yeah,
I was like, there's nothing nothing you could tell me, you could sell me on would let me even entertain the idea of like giving out $130 million budget for a romantic comedy. And I guess
beyond absurd.
Netflix and Nancy Meyers eventually kind of haggled over it because the movie's not happening at Netflix anymore. Hollywood Reporter said Netflix and Myers could not come to an agreement on the budget. Now, here's the crazy thing: is that Myers is said to have asked for a budget of at least $150 million, but the studio did not want to go over $130 million. Both figures are very pricey for a romantic comedy, even with names such as Scarlett Johansson, Penelope Cruz, Michael Fassbender, and Owen Wilson. Basically, we're like, we can't really. That's a lot of money to fork over for a film such as this.
Definitely.
But if it would have moved forward, it would have been the most expensive romantic comedy of all time. It's a no-brainer.
By a
Um,
landslide, I'd imagine.
yeah, and so she's known for her bigger budgets in this genre, because she commands like a pretty decent cast. And I mentioned this offline, but like she has these like what they call like architectural digest worthy sets, and like so like so I was, like I said, I was joking with Merc going back and forth about like must have been like an expensive ass fucking kitchen that she wanted to have like in this
Big time.
movie. To just give you a little like, first of all, like romantic comedies are a tough sell theatrically, so I can see why they were going Netflix route. But when romantic comedies were making money, like she did, It's Complicated with Meryl Streep, Alec Baldwin, Steve Martin for $85 million of the $85 million budget. That's still pretty big for a
Still
romantic
big.
comedy. She also had the same budget for The Holiday, which starred Cameron Diaz, Kate Winslet, Jack Black, and Jude Law. Like she is known for this kind of stuff.
He assembles a good cast, though. That's for sure.
A lot of people love working with her, and I heard that like Warner Brothers could be eyeing that project. I don't know why they are, because like I said offline, like
Can
I
they
don't know
afford that?
I don't know where they're getting money from. um, I'm assuming that a major studio would talk her down. Like, oh no, like why would be like a conversation if you like were Warner Brothers? You're like, hey, like I'm not gonna greenlight $130 million romantic comedy, and she wanted 150 at one point. But I mean, like she is a proven kind of in this genre, at least when it was big. Like a lot of her movies made
Right.
money. Like It's Complicated made money. The Holiday made money as well. Something's Got to Give with Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton made money. She was involved in like The Parent Trap. Like she has like
Oh,
a
okay,
lot of
cool.
Father of the Bride back in the day. Like so she is a proven name in this genre, but we are
Yeah.
also different time now.
Well, different
where,
times. Context has to be considered, and like just rom coms aren't what they used to be, or at least
right?
the few that are like few and far between.
Yeah, and
That
like
has to be considered.
I totally forgot about like sets, because at first I was like, how much money is Scarlett Johansson and all them asking for the budget to be that fucking huge? Like that's the
Right.
budget for like a comic book movie. Like not even like
100%.
$150 million budget. Like the first Shazam had $100 million budget.
Right.
I mean, like how does a romantic comedy like
A
go
movie that's
that
probably
high?
going to have not a single CGI shot in it is all
No,
going to go to salary and set design.
yeah, especially for her, like she's not gonna CGI those like expensive kitchens. Like they're gonna be like legit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like really fucking legit. You know what? This did create a bigger discussion on Twitter, where I saw, especially a lot of female writers were kind of pointing out like Netflix has forked over a lot of money to and like male directors. The Irishman being a good example of how much that movie cost to make for Netflix.
It's a great
So,
example.
so they were like, why not give her what she wanted for the movie? I hear that point and I get it, but they are two very different types of movies. I mean,
Two different filmmakers. Like
filmmakers.
she doesn't have that historical precedence that Martin Scorsese does. I think that is fair to
Yeah,
differentiate between. Definitely other examples though, for sure. But I hear that argument, but like with
yeah,
Marty though, like he's got literal decades of being like one of the greatest American directors of all time behind him. So
dude, Jackson. If you and I were in that meeting where she like pitched that budget, we would have been like, "What do you need
yo,
it for? Like for what?
I would have.
Are you
I don't even
serious?"
know how I would have reacted. I probably would have burst out laughing.
You know what? $85 million seems a lot too, but I think that could be a sweet spot for that cast. I mean, I'm sure like
Yeah,
Johansson commands a lot of money, and like Penelope Cruz, you know, Oscar winner, and like she's been nominated again after that. Like, I mean, I'm sure like all these people,
Fassbender,
Fassbender would command like a decent paycheck,
decent.
but like, dude, I mean, This business of like making films now, like I think you have to be a little bit more like
Conservative with your
conservative with your
yeah.
budget. Like, are you
Definitely.
serious?
Be interested to see that script, how long it is, and like just how crazy it is, or if it's even crazy. Like clearly, money needs to go somewhere. But
Well,
so
I looked up what the movie was gonna be about, and
okay, what'd you
it
glean
says
from that?
Myers would have written and directed the film, which had parallels to her life. It says per the synopsis, it was centered on a young writer director who falls in love with a producer. The pair make several successful films before breaking up, both romantically and professionally. They are forced back together when a new great project arises that they find themselves having to deal with high stakes and volatile stars. So it sounds like a
I
very
love the
like
sound of
industry.
that.
I like the way it sounds. Like it sounds like very like we've talked about before on other episodes. Like we love like behind the scenes like industry movies.
Industry movies are awesome.
But yeah, man. I mean, just like I, I can't believe she wanted 150, and then like she tried to talk her down to a reasonable 130.
Yeah.
She was like, no.
Imagine they greenlit that and then they start filming and then she was over budget. Like, oh my goodness.
Like, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that room though when
You're
she was
super, yeah,
she was like, I
you're
need
right about that.
$150 million.
Yeah. Well, that'd be interesting to see if Warner Bros. Doesn't pick it up or if maybe another studio swoops in and saves the day because that sounds like it has a lot of potential. Maybe not box office potential, but potential like critically perhaps because it sounds like an interesting enough premise. Great cast.
Yes.
Hopefully, we see that sees a light of day someday.
I mean, that kitchen is at least $80 million. I'm imagining I'm imagining that she wants to put together.
Clearly.
That was like the bulk of the budget. Oh man.
Yeah. But on the note of future movies, risk of contradicting something that we were chatting about last episode, where we were discussing our mutual, how should I put it, our mutual belief that the awards season is
Season
behind
was
us, as much as we love it.
yeah.
We were talking about how, like Merck in particular, and some other movie accounts, how they take the time to predict what they think the 2023 or the following year's Best Picture nominees will be.
Yeah.
Well, I got bored one day shortly after we recorded that and decided I would try my hand. And I came up with a little list of what I think might be nominated at the 2024 ceremony. And I understand that you did as well. I think
Yeah,
now is
I
a
got
good
some
chance to share our picks with anybody that's listening.
all right.
I picked 8. How
Even
many
though
did you come up with?
and it's funny that we did say
Yeah.
like, God, aren't we so happy award season's over? And I think we even made fun of people. We didn't make fun of them. We actually mentioned that like
Enough.
some people were like already predicting what.
I
Guys,
admire that they're still like trying
I
to do
admire
that.
it too.
It was just like,
But I
whew.
couldn't help but like laugh when like Jackson sent me the message about wanting to do this because I was like, you just talked about how like we're so far removed and so
I was like,
glad that we don't have to talk about it anymore.
yeah,
But
hypocritical of me. I think I've never done that before. I've never looked
yeah,
that far ahead and tried to predict before. So this would be my first time trying to do it. And I already think that it's going to go differently than what I have, but I think it's still interesting. And I actually tried to go find Merck's post where he put his predictions, but he must have made it a story because I couldn't find it on his page. So this is completely my own, not influenced by anybody else's picks. And I tried to look, but
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, there's some interesting stuff coming out.
there's
It'll be
man, it's
interesting.
still stacked here.
It's a very stacked year, and it's very interesting because like I wonder like it'll be interesting to like look back on this and see like what kind of like stood up and like main relevant in the race, and then what
Right.
might have fallen off. I have one in here that might surprise people, but I kind of have a feeling I turn out if it's I think it's gonna be that it might be a lot smarter than people are giving it credit for.
I'm
It might
wondering, I know that we are talking about the same movie right now. I know that we are.
it might
Believe me
sneak up in
when
there.
I say if it is, believe if you say it first, believe my reaction if it is the same one. But so do you want to go? Do you want to rattle off yours and then me rattle off mine, or do you want to go one for one so we're not copying each other's list if they're the same, or how do you want to approach it?
One for one. We go one for one. And since this is your idea,
And how many
first.
picks do you have?
I have 6, but I can probably
Okay.
maybe look at while you're going through.
For sure. Six is a good number. I'll lead just because I have 8. So that'll give me a chance to bookend, and then we're not going duo. So I'll just read it in the list that I have it on my phone. The first one might be an obvious one, but Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer definitely gonna get a slew of nominations.
Yeah,
Lots.
definitely a Best Picture nomination,
and we'll win some for sure.
It's coming for all the technical awards too. I assume.
Yeah, one has some.
You're super excited for this one. Like it's like
I am like
so.
a kid
So we
when it
have
comes to
like
Christmas.
when I was like, yeah, like let's try to think of like theme episodes, right? So like Jackson like wrote out a list, and I think when it got down to, like Oppenheimer, it had like the release date, and all you wrote was like Oppenheimer, baby, like exclamation points.
Yeah, that's right. That's fucking.
I was like, he's excited. He's
I
excited.
cannot wait to talk that movie, man, when it comes out. I am like childishly giddy about that. So yeah, I also think there's some potential for Killian, maybe even Robert Downey Jr. for some acting nominations in there too. So
Yeah, there.
I'm expecting big things.
That'll be a fun SAG. That'll be a fun SAG
Oh
award,
my
I think.
god, dude.
Because I forgot. I don't know how it works for SAG. I wanted to look this up. If it caps the number of people when it's like an ensemble award, like how many people can actually get it.
Oh,
There's a lot of people in this movie.
half
Some with.
Hollywood's in this movie.
And what's funny is that this movie and the other movie I think that we might also have on the list
Yeah.
was basically announcing like its cast almost like back to back, and I thought that was like so funny because I think they opened the same weekend as well.
Okay.
It was kind of interesting.
You're talking about the same
The
movie.
same movie. So
Yeah.
you know what? I will. I actually did have Oppenheimer on my list as well.
Figured you may have.
And I think I think that's a shoe in for best picture, best director for Christopher Nolan. Cinematography, like a lot of technical awards.
Yeah.
I also am pulling for Killers of the Flower Moon. I think Owen is reading it or has read it. I do want to read the book.
Shit.
I do want to read the book because like
That would be
I'm
an awesome read.
I usually don't sometimes before I go see a movie that's like adapted from source material, but I think this one might be interesting. I hear it's a long one, which is probably why the movie is so long.
Which why it took so long to edit, no doubt. It took months and months and months to edit.
But yeah, that's got potential a best picture nomination as well.
Also on my list.
Then we got Leo, of course, and Martin Scorsese probably the directing category. The guy's still going strong directing movies. This one, I remember when they announced it, and I feel like it's been so long since it got announced to like it potentially coming out. But like Scorsese is like notorious about like getting the edit right and like taking his time. So I mean, I think that's great. So I'm looking forward to that one. I've been looking forward to it since it got announced. I mean, Jesse Plemons is another name in that movie that I think might get some notice as well. He actually, when he did Power of the Dog, he actually got nominated for that. So I think he can be riding that momentum again with something like this. And I think Scorsese is actually good at like directing some of his cast, like potential like at least nominations for sure. So
that's right, big time.
I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
Very much so. I feel like I had one more point about Killers of the Flower Moon that I wanted to say, and now I forget what it is. Anyway, it was on my list too. I don't think I think it's a pretty much a shoe in for Best Picture nominee as well. Yep. My next one between those two, I have Dune Part 2. I think they're going to give it some more love this time around.
Because even though this isn't the third movie, I see some like potential Return of the King-esque things going on with Dune, where it's like, let's show it some love, like more love. And we saw what we saw this year. Like everything Everywhere All at Once is a sci-fi movie that took home Best Picture. So there is hope that like a sci-fi-ish movie can like take that crown.
Exactly.
We already had a pretty stacked cast in the first one, but now we got Austin Butler in the mix. Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
They has a much bigger role in this one than she did in the first one. I think I told you the story before, but I just remember when Dune was like ending, and it was long. It's a long movie. And my buddy realized that we weren't going to have like a conclusion, like a proper conclusion from that first movie. He's like, wait, there's going to be another one? I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of book.
That's right.
It's a lot of book, dude.
Plus, the opening credits say part 1 on it. Like that, to me, was enough of a...
Pay attention, bro.
Yeah.
But
I'm hopeful.
I think it's going to get its love this time around.
Certainly for the technical categories, but I also think it's going to get that Best Picture nomination. I hope so anyway, because like Denny was robbed from Dune. Dune was fucking outstanding.
Very much so, Rob. I think so as well. So after the South by Southwest, I know I mentioned this earlier about movies playing too early in the season and they might get forgotten. What reviewer? They called Air like the Jerry Maguire of like our generation, and I read that and I was like, all right, cool. I can be sold on that. I can see. I mean, it's got a good cast too. Ben Affleck's track record as a director is really, really good. Especially Academy like showed a lot of love to Argo, which is crazy because he wasn't nominated for Best Director for Argo, but he ended up winning Best Picture. Okay. But I think Amazon like Prime video. I think I made fun of it earlier, but I think they will do what they need to do to kind of keep that movie in the conversation later in the year. Whether
Hopefully,
that
I'm
is
excited for that one.
whether that is like you kind of re-release it a bit, like it limit it to kind of get people back into seeing it. I know it's gonna be also playing for people at home, but I think that I think they will have to do a little something to kind of get it back into Academy voters' minds. But like after hearing some of the reception for it, I was like, all right, I think this could work. And the Academy does like based on true life stories, especially if
Right?
they are good like this. Like I said, he has a really great cast in this one. I think it has potential if they do it, if they really market the campaign right and like just make people remember it down the line.
Yeah, that was one that slipped under my radar, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it up there either. That's probably one I'm going to bring a few of my basketball loving buddies too. That I'm like, you got if they haven't, I'm sure they will have seen the trailer. But some
Yeah,
of my buddies that like aren't as keen to probably go to the theater, like I might like, make an effort to like bring them there. I can't wait honestly for that. And I'm not like a basketball lover, but like I respect. I definitely got some respect for Michael Jordan. So I will just be seeing it by nature of what it is. So but yeah, I think
yeah,
it'd be a good one to go see with a bunch of friends. So I'm excited for that watch. So, yeah, interesting to see how that carries out throughout the year.
yep, I agree.
Um, Next one that I have up is Beau is Afraid, which is kind of a risky pick. If there's any in my list that is like least safe, it might be that just because of like it's gonna be wacky, it's gonna be horror comedy and a dash of a bunch of other things.
Yeah,
Ari Aster's next movie, I have big hopes for, and even man, I'm just thinking now about the year that Joaquin Phoenix is gonna have. But
yeah.
in the next couple of years, but I'm expecting big things from Beau is Afraid or whatever the hell it's being called now. Still don't know what the final title is going to be.
Was it like Disappointment Boulevard or Alley at one point? I forgot. Like
It started as
so,
Disappointment Boulevard, then
what?
to Beau is Afraid, and on IMDb it is Ona's Choice, which I don't know where that came from, but it's I've gone through 3 names now. I think it's like probably mostly known as Beau is Afraid, but I think it could get a sneaky Best Picture nominee. Probably if there's anyone that's feels like it like snuck its way in there, it'll be that one.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that is a risky pick. But then I think about like it probably will be weirder than Everything
then we
Everywhere All at
think,
Once. But
yeah,
like that seemed like a risky pick on paper too, and that ended up like
true.
uh, taking it all right. So
Yeah.
there's
The
that.
difference being, I'm not expecting Beau is Afraid to win, whereas I think Best or Everything Everywhere had more of a shot, but I think it gets that sneaky nom.
I think so too.
Hope so.
All right, so I'm gonna name this one right now just so I can get it out the way.
Let's do it 3, 2, 1, and see if we're saying the same thing.
Count
After
me.
one,
All right.
3, 2, 1, Barbie.
Barbie.
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
I was like,
Awesome. I knew it.
I think that movie is probably a lot smarter than we're probably giving it credit for. I mean, I
It's-
know we've only seen one trailer and a lot of pictures.
But it was that trailer that made me realize, okay, it should have been enough that Noah Baumbach was co-writing with Greta, because
Yeah,
like that guy is a phenomenal writer, Oscar caliber for sure. But then that trailer came out, and at first when I saw images like stills, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like why is it like a direct comparison to 2001? And I watched the trailer, I was like, I get kind of like where they're going with this. The cast is stacked. I actually genuinely think it, might hold a flame
I
to
think
the
so
other
too.
movies.
Like, who would have ever thought that if you told Margot Robbie you might have a better shot at the Oscars with Barbie than Babylon?
Then Babylon. That is messed up to say out loud, but you're so right.
Who would have ever
Wow.
thought?
No, that doesn't
Again,
even seem right.
also well, yeah, the Noah Baumbach thing that you mentioned, Greta Gerwig, both very creative people. Another situation where the cast is stacked. Yeah, her, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, Simu Liu,
Yeah.
Will Ferrell. Uh,
Will Ferrell's in
there's
that.
so many people in it, and like I still go back to that like Simu Liu thing a lot when he was like he got sent that script and he was like, no, I'm not interested. He didn't even want to read it. His publicist was like, no, apparently this is like one of the best written scripts like ever read in like a while. And he was like, all right, and he read it. And he was like, fuck, he was right. Like so that was
So
cool.
probably an original screenplay nomination coming that movie's way too.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And also potential like we talk about this with the Oscars a lot. Like a lot of these movies that we're naming, like Oppenheimer, I think The Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie, they also have potential to make money. Whereas like a lot of like these some Oscar movies, don't get a ton of like audience attention sometimes. Like about a lot of people being like, oh, I've never even heard of that movie. But we might see another year like we did last year. Like we might. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get like a Top Gun, but like you will still
Right.
have things that were very successful. Uh, like I said, I mean, if they continue to market Barbie way, I think there's like a lot of potential to like do really really well. Uh, I would have
Yeah,
never
I
guessed that
agree.
when they announced it. I would be like, oh, this might. You know what?
Hell no.
If it doesn't get any Oscar love, the Golden Globes are gonna fucking love it. So like, I know it's gonna get
Big time.
a lot of love there. Uh, but
Interestingly
yeah,
enough, I have it open on IMDb right now, and it's not rated yet. But I'm curious. I feel like we'll just give it a soft like PG. But maybe like with it's them too, like I wouldn't be surprised they maybe go PG-13. But I feel like naturally, like they're gonna expect a younger audience in like kind of a shared audience probably, but definitely
yeah,
they know some younger kids are gonna go seeing it. So I'm
yeah.
interested to see how they end up rating it.
I'm too.
But yeah, no, I'm hopeful for it, honestly.
I'm gonna laugh if we get like a hard R, like
Dude,
because I'm like,
I would be all on board
now
for
I
that.
is this made for kids? Or I guess it's made for us. like,
Perhaps. I mean, the adventure comedy fantasy are the three tags on IMDb. I just can't help but feel like they're gonna like, target it for kids, but make it like viewable for kids. I hope they give it like some sort of like adult rating would just be nice, but I'm just praying my viewing of that movie isn't filled with like little girls or something, you know what I mean? Like,
you know, like the oldest person there,
and moms, yeah.
like,
But
oh, yeah, that's like
I'm
sinking down your
so
seat.
yeah. I'm so amused that we both were saying the same thing about that pick.
Oh, for real. Like, I want to give your Bo's Afraid pick credit because GoldDerby.com actually has it on their list as a potential best
Oh,
picture
cool.
contender. So might
Not
not be
bad.
as like weird and offbeat as you might think.
Maybe not. Next up, I have oh my God, man, another Joaquin project. Ridley Scott's Napoleon project I have up there. Granted, maybe the Academy is not as, supportive of like grand historical period pieces as they used to be, but where
Yep.
it's Ridley, like I have a lot of faith in that. Joaquin playing like one of like history's favorite people to have ever existed, military
Right.
leaders. Set design from the few photos we've seen from it look awesome. I don't know really much else about it yet. Like it's pretty much been under wraps. I think they're done, or maybe they're still shooting, but I just have high hopes for that one.
That's potential too. I didn't on my. I think I probably forgot, but like it does have potential as well. And in the Academy when he does it right, they do love Ridley Scott
Yeah,
a lot. So
exactly.
there's that, and they love Joaquin Phoenix too. So there's gonna be
That's
there's gonna
right.
be he could get a lot of love this year potentially.
Ridley's due for some Oscar love too. Like the Last Duel was criminally underrated and underlooked by any awards,
I thought that
even
movie
at the
was really
box
good.
office. Movie was awesome. And he did two movies that year. He did that and House of Gucci that year,
House of
which was
Gucci.
another underrated movie of his. Like that guy is 80 something years old and still
Yeah,
absolutely banging out these huge, masterful, crazy budgeted movies. And I just love it. Like he'll be directing till the day he dies, I bet.
I think so too. I
And
actually
I hope
really
we
liked
get
House of Gucci. Like I know
me
that some
too.
people thought it was like there were certain people that were acting like they were in a different movie, Jared Leto, but like the but for the most part though, I was so intrigued by that story and like thought it was like really interesting.
Me
And
too.
I also thought Lady Gaga and actually everyone except for Jared Leto. I just like Jared Leto just reminded me of like some weird like Mario Brothers impersonation of
He
one of
was
Italian
very
persons.
much like that, but I did like his performance in it. I was on the Jared Leto train for it. It was like a little off-putting and different and weird, but like I felt it worked. But maybe a
I was
rewatch will
so
change that.
I was so nervous on award season because I was like, man, this might be so weird to people that they might nominate him.
It was
And I was
very
like, no.
divisive. Very
Yeah,
divisive. It was a love or strongly hate his performance. And I found myself in the middle. Like there's parts of it where it was over the top, but I
yeah.
thought it was impressive. Say the truth.
Well,
So
yep,
yeah.
Jared Little, someone loves you.
Yeah. I
So
love I love the guy. I
um,
hate him and I love him.
I have because the Academy can like musicals, and this one has potential to kind of get attention from them.
Musicals.
They're doing a theatrical adaptation of The Color Purple, which was The Color Purple was made in like the 80s. Of course, it was Alice
Steven
Walker,
Spielberg, right?
Steven Spielberg
I
directed
did
it.
not know that was a musical.
But they've made a Broadway musical of it, and now they're turning that into a movie. Uh, and in the cast, we have Fantasia Barrino, Coleman Domingo, Taraji P. Henson, and Danielle Brooks. Just for a comparison's sake, I know it's gonna be different because it is a musical. Spielberg did The Color Purple in the 80s. It was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and it got acting nominations for Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg, and Margaret Avery. famously didn't take home any awards. People are like still up in arms about how The Color Purple didn't win any Oscars year that it came
I
out.
thought Whoopi Goldberg won for that. Where did she get?
She won the Best Supporting Actress for Ghost, which is also a fun.
Ghost. Okay.
Uh, uh,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I think of the musicals, I think Wicked comes out this year too. I feel like
Yes.
I feel like The Color Purple might get more attention uh, from the Academy. I can see Wicked getting a lot of attention from like the Golden Globes. I know it sounds like I'm selling the Globe Sugar, but the Golden Globes likes to nominate stuff like that. You got a movie with
Right.
Ariana Grande in it, they're going to be like, oh, let's see if she'll come. Let's nominate them. I see the
Right.
potential for The Color Purple, especially if we haven't had a good movie musical. I guess it's been a bit. I
Since
guess
La
since
La
like
Land.
La La Land, I guess, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't mind,
Others come to mind.
and I like good.
Cats.
Oh, oh
Nightmare
God.
Fuel.
I saw that in
I got two
theaters.
questions about The Color Purple. You saw that in theaters, dude?
Yeah,
Here to talk about it?
I know.
Holy shit.
It's so bad.
That is some uncanny valley shit to the max.
It's so bad.
I got two questions about Color Purple about Stevens because it's one of the few Steven Spielberg movies I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Is his version a musical?
No, it's just a drama.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
straight yeah.
Okay. I thought so, but after you said this one was, I was not sure for a sec.
Yeah. And
is he doing this one?
I think he's a producer on this one. I actually
Okay.
pronounce the actor's name. I'm trying to find it. Where'd it go? I think he's just a producer, and it's
Okay. That'd be cool.
It's directed by Blitz Bazwell, made Black is King.
Oh.
And I think it's going to be. And actually, yes, Spielberg and Oprah Winfrey are on board as producers, along with Quincy Jones and Scott Sanders. I mean, it has. It's like the film is technically based on the 2005 stage musical adaptation, but that takes its cues from like the book and the movie.
Okay.
And Spielberg got a lot of not flack back in the day, but I think some people were like, oh, like because he was white and he was directing The Color Purple, which is like complete black cast. It's like all black cast. Oprah Winfrey, I remember Whoopi Goldberg always defended him, and like of course it turned out to be a great movie, but they were like he understood material. It wasn't like he was trying to like make something that he didn't have a grasp on.
Right.
Good filmmaking is good filmmaking, and like they all said that like he was the right and only choice for that movie. And like if you see it, it's a solid movie. The acting is amazing. If anything, like I always forget that Oprah Winfrey acts sometimes, and that she got nominated and that she got nominated for an Oscar. It's a solid movie.
Oh, I mean, I will no doubt check it out one day. Like I have to see everything that Steven has made, and I've seen majority, so that one is coming up for sure. I will definitely get that, and maybe in anticipation for this one. So I got two more picks that we haven't covered. Next one being Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, which, as no doubt, it's already had a, I guess you could say, troubled production.
Yeah, I'm scared for that one.
I'm scared too. It sounds like it's gonna make it through, though. I mean, that guy is again like a very celebrated director. Another tried and true classic. He's already directed multiple Best Picture movies. Cast is stacked. It's a decades-long passion project for him. I really hope it goes the way I'm thinking it will, and gets at least a nomination, gets recognized for all his hard work. So here's to hoping Megalopolis performs.
Yeah, another person making movies like way deep in age. I mean,
yeah, a lot of the directors that we mentioned, like Marty, Scott, Francis Ford Coppola,
are on their like 80s, right?
Steven Spielberg. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they are crazy. I love it.
All right, what's your other your last one?
I think we got
through all my. What's funny is that I pulled up a list of other. I don't want to say that I picked them, but ones to kind of look out for too is Maestro that Bradley Cooper's doing.
Oh damn!
The exact quote says from Full Derby: Bradley Cooper is doing everything he can to win an Oscar for this Netflix picture he's co-writing, directing, producing, and starring in.
He wants that Oscar.
He's playing a recognizable musical figure, composer Leonard Bernstein, making himself unrecognizable under layers of prosthetic makeup, writing the script with Spotlight Oscar winner Josh Singer as well, and enlisting Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg to produce it with him. Ray Mulligan's also in the movie. I think I probably, if I would have, I didn't want to like cheat. I saw that, and I think that is another one that has mad potential. If you get off of this, you can actually look up the pictures of him.
I'm gonna.
Movie. He looks completely unrecognizable in the photos that they've released so far. And then I guess another one is a Wes Anderson movie, Asteroid City,
Oh shit.
which has like a lot of typical regulars like Tilda Swinton, Adrian Brody, Jason Schwartzman, Edward Norton, and then all newcomers include Margot Robbie, Mia Hawke, and Tom Hanks. Also, Scarlett Johansson, Steve Carell, and Bryan Cranston are other famous people that might be appearing in the film as well. They are
Okay.
thinking that it could be. Last film was The French Dispatch, and it was his first to not even earn any Oscar nominations since 2000's The Arlene Limited. But they
Hmm.
said that Asteroid City could be a returned form for him. That movie comes out on June 16th. But I didn't have them on my list. I just saw those there, and I thought those would be good honorable mentions. Especially Maestro. I think Bradley Cooper is one of those people that I'm surprised doesn't have an Oscar yet. Like
I know, right?
I feel like he's gonna be like one of those Leonardo DiCaprio people, or like, you know what, we got a new one now, like a Jamie Lee Curtis, that like
Right.
has been doing this for so long, where they're like, he's gonna get it for like something that's not cool, that or not that great.
Right.
But he's been putting in so much work over the years, like, acting, directing, producing, and writing. So it might be
For
his
him, like
time.
he's yeah, no, he's definitely overdue, and I'm sure he will eventually one day have one to his name. And for learning everything you just said about Maestro, I
Yeah,
mean, it's a bad year to be making that movie because of like how many awesome projects are coming out this year. But he'll have some good competition. But I'm sure he'll be up there. Not wouldn't be surprised to see him up
yeah,
there in some way, shape, or form.
agreed.
But my last pick is Sofia Coppola's Priscilla, which not much is known about it yet, which is why
Yeah,
it's kind of a curveball pick. But none of those other pictures that we mentioned were directed by women, other than Greta Gerwig, I guess, for Barbie.
yeah, yeah,
Sophia Coppola, who is loved, and I mean a great figure who I don't know that we've had a lot of exposure to, like film
yeah.
wise, about Elvis's wife. Oh yeah, I'm just threw that in there as like a sneak little pick. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets some love.
That's an interesting one too. I think she's the right choice for that as well,
I agree.
for that kind of subject matter. And it's so funny because we brought her up earlier when we were talking about the Bling Ring. She directed that.
Yeah, I
It
actually
all comes,
bookmarked that in my head to come up later.
all comes full circle. uh, Overall, I think there's some good potential stuff. Of course, all this can change. I mean, early in the year, but like, I think it is
That's
interesting to
right.
look at it now and see like what's gonna be around and what's not. Uh,
There's
to
probably some that'll sneak in there that we haven't even thought of yet. So it could
Yeah.
look completely different, but I'm like, pretty confident.
I also was reading on goldderby.com that there could be some curveballs. I mean, I don't think this is gonna happen, but unless it's like really, 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 really good. But they mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If that is as emotionally resonant as it appears to be from the trailers, there's potential for that.
Okay.
I don't think the Academy likes Marvel though. I think that's
I
like
don't think
I
I
think
don't
we I
I'm
think we
not
learned that with
expecting it to.
I think we learned that with Angela Bassett, that they don't really like Marvel that much.
I think that
Uh,
message was
uh,
delivered before that even,
yeah, I
but
mean,
solidified.
yeah, they could ignore Black Panther the first one because that was like a movement, and they're like, all right, like,
Right.
but like the rest of, I mean, I think Guardians would have to be really good for even be a part of a conversation that isn't like technical awards.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not
and
holding my breath,
they also mentioned
to
the
say the
Marvels, and
least.
I was like, that's not gonna happen either.
Are you
Yeah,
whose list was this?
it's on goldderby.com. They're like, oh, there's
Okay.
potential for the Marvels. I was like, no, it's not. It's not.
No, I don't know
I
if
don't
anyone
think so.
else is saying that. That's wishful
Not saying
thinking right
not
there.
that all good. I get good reviews, but like the Academy's not gonna know.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Pushed it back to November, right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they
there's a
did.
lot of. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath for that one either.
Yeah.
Interesting pick though,
Yeah,
to
but
say the
I
least.
think we got some solid and
Yeah,
we'll
that was fun.
throw some stuff on the socials to see which ones you guys there were any that you agreed with uh,
Fantastic idea.
more than others. Uh, we also want to see all that Barbie love because we think it's gonna happen.
I
I
can't
think it's
wait,
still
man. I'm honestly like getting my hype is building as the days go on.
yeah, and it's not even with like we've had one trailer, right? Like that was enough so far. One trailer and a bunch
Exactly.
of fun photos. So yeah, uh, yeah, we'll put
It's
that
looking
on our
real
socials,
promising.
and we'll see
Yeah.
how guys match up with us. And yeah, this is a fun one as always. Got a
I'm
lot
glad
in.
we threw that in there.
Now, can you imagine if we would have thrown all these in with like the one we have to do after this one?
No, I'm glad we structured the way we did.
I'm glad
It's
that
gonna
we
be have to be a long episode.
split it up. So yeah, you're gonna hear a couple of really good episodes from us. Owen's gonna finally be on with Jackson, which is exciting. We're recording that one
Oh
later,
yeah.
like in an hour, a little over an hour. I feel like they're both excited to record with each other.
God, yeah, absolutely. Especially with what we're talking about too. Be really
Yeah,
exciting to
it's gonna
chat
be
him up
really
about.
really fun one, and it's funny because like yeah, they're basically like the same in terms of like just casual moviegoers. They're just like movies. They're fans of movies, so it'll I might just like sit back and just let them talk, and just like not say much, and not say much. But
No,
yeah,
we
it
need
should be
your
a
input for sure, but it'll be fun from your perspective to see us, go at it and
I
share
know,
our
I know.
opinions and stuff. I'm excited, and I know I'm gonna go right from here, see how much of John Wick 3 I can get in before that
Yeah,
conversation.
nice for sure.
Yeah.
All right, send this on out.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining Gaius and I again on another episode of Back to the Blockbuster. We appreciate your viewership. We love our listeners so much. Thanks again, as always, for tuning in. You guys know where to find us. If you don't happen to know by yet, we are on Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, and Google Podcasts, wherever you guys get your podcasts. Wherever you get your listen, you guys can find Back to the Blockbuster. So make sure, if you guys like the content we're putting, hit us up on our socials. Let us know some stuff that you like to see. Tell your friends that like this sort of content and spread us around. Gaius, as always a pleasure talking movies with you, my friend.
Yeah, always a pleasure, and you're so damn good at that. Thank God, so good at
Should
it.
have been in radio.
I know, so fucking good at it. It's just like it's
Oh,
seamless.
thank you. Well,
Good job. I mean, oh my God, who's gonna do it? You know, and that's funny because he usually does the outro for like the other show.
I'd love to hear him take a spin. We should set that up though before.
Before, like,
Yeah, we
the
should do
outro.
that. But yeah,
Always a pleasure, my friend.
peace out, guys.